Assalamu alaikum everyone. It's me Amin, the founder and CEO of Learn Spoken English. So আজকে আমরা শিখব কিভাবে ইংলিশ অ্যালফাবেটগুলি প্রনাউন্স করতে হয় নেটিভ স্পিকারদের মতো, যাতে আপনার ইংলিশ ফ্লুয়েন্সি আরও বাড়ে A থেকে Z পর্যন্ত. So without further much to say, let's begin. Now, as you guys already know, the first letter is A. The correct way to actually pronounce it is A, not A. An example of this is apple, accountability, and age. Then we've got is B. For this one, we've got to add a bit more emphasis onto it. So instead of saying B, it should be B. An example of this is book and box. Next is C. So just like B, you got to add a bit more emphasis as well. So it should be C, not C. It should be C. A few examples of this is city and calendar. Then we've got is D. So for this one, it's the same as B and C. Got to add a bit more emphasis. So the correct way to say it should be D. D. A few examples of this is day and dream. Next is E. This one's relatively easy and simple. It's just E. An example of this is elongate and elephant. Moving on, we've got F. So the correct way to pronounce it should be F. F. An example of this is friend and family. And then we've got G. So you've got to stretch the sound a bit. So instead of saying G, it should be G. A few examples of this is game and goal. And then we've got H. There's actually two different ways you can actually pronounce it. So one is H, another is H. But for the sake of this video, we'll be using H as an example. So yeah, H, H, H. That's how you should pronounce it. An example of this is hand and horizon. Then we've got I. This one's simple as well. It's just I. An example of this is image. Moving on, we've got is J. J. An example of this is job. And then we've got is K. So the correct way to pronounce it should be K. Example of it is kangaroo. Next is L. So as you can see, the correct way to pronounce L is L, not L. It should be L. An example starting with this letter is life. And then we've got M. So yeah, we've got M here. An example of this is magic. And then we've got N. So similarly, just like M, we're just replacing the M with an N. So it should be N. N. An example of this is nose. Moving forward, we've got O. So yeah, this one's really easy to remember. It's just O. A word starting with this letter is objective. And then we've got P. So you gotta add a bit more emphasis into it. Just like B, C, D, and G. So the correct way to pronounce P should be P. P. An example of this is pacify and purchase. And then we've got Q. So the correct way to pronounce Q is Q. Q. An example of this is quiet. Next is R. R. So we've got A and R. So you gotta pronounce it as R. An example of this is responsibility. And then we've got is S. S. A word starting with this letter is smile. T is the next one. T. So just like we discussed about the emphasis bit, you gotta add a bit more emphasis onto this one as well. So it should be T. T. An example of this is table. And then we've got is U. So this one's easy to remember as well. U. An example of this is university. And then we've got is V. So you have to add a bit more emphasis to this one as well. So there's actually quite a few. So the correct way to pronounce this is V. V. Not B, it should be V. An example of this is vision. Vision. See the way we pronounce it? Vision. V for V. And then we've got W. So yeah, W, that's how we pronounce it. W. W. An example of this is water. Water. And then we've got X. The correct way to pronounce this is X. An example of this is Zenek. We've got Y as the next one. So the correct way to pronounce this letter is Y. Y. An example of this is yoga. And the final letter is Z. Now, there's actually two different ways to pronounce the letter Z or Z. So one is obviously Z, another one is Z. But it just really depends on which one you want to use. Alright, so just to recap, here's how you pronounce the letters from A to Z. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, and Z. So this is the end of today's video. এই ভিডিওটি যদি ভালো লেগে থাকে তাহলে অবশ্যই লাইক করবেন আর সাবস্ক্রাইব করতে ভুলে যাবেন না। Cheers!